Welcome back to another session with the Andrew Tucker TV channel. Now, could one of the most iconic speeches in history, Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, could that speech have been influenced by Jamaica's national motto, out of many, one people? In this video, we explore the meaning and history of Jamaica's motto, the timeline of Dr. King's speech and potential global influences, connections between Caribbean unity and the civil rights movement. That's the U.S. civil rights movement. During this discussion, could Jamaica have played a hidden role in shaping Dr. King's vision? And you can like, share, and subscribe to the video. Thank you so much for having got me to 1,000 subscribers. Remember now that we need to climb, we need to build our channel so that we can get incisive and biting commentaries. Independent journalism is what should count. I would also encourage you to interact with the videos as soon as they're posted. The algorithm incentivizes early engagement. When the videos are not interacted with, as soon as they're published, YouTube algorithm tends to bury those videos. Or if you like my work, you can visit my channel ever so often so that you can check to see I have published a video and interact with it, begin to watch it and watch the video through so that you can, learn something. And also the engagement with the video, the algorithm decides how long you spend watching the video. They also decide whether or not the video is interesting or not. Even the video is interesting, but this is algorithm. So that is what you have to understand. Now, Jamaica has given the world a number of things, including jerk chicken and some of the most celebrated athletes. We have also been the home of reggae and dancehall music, of ska, and also a number of other things. But few people understand that Jamaica is the place of philosophy also, as far as the greatest Black man of the 20th century, that is Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, the fact of the matter is that Marcus Mosiah Garvey was one of Dr. Martin Luther King's mentor. Didn't think he met the man, but he was able, through reading the man and reading his philosophies, reading his teachings, he was, influenced and highly encouraged, highly inspired by the words and the works of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. That is something that we have to understand. Okay, so we are going to delve into a very important matter in terms of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. pronounced a speech, I Have a Dream speech, which is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic speech of the 20th century. What a speech that was. And in it, he was dreaming of an America that would have been for everyone, for the Indians, that's the Native American Indians, for Blacks, for whites, for all ethnic groups and racial groups that reside in the United States. But could Dr. Martin Luther King have gotten his inspiration from Jamaica? Many people do not know that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a fascination for the island of Jamaica, which he described as being the most beautiful island that he has ever visited, and with the most hospitable people that he has ever seen. And he thought that Jamaica was a wonderful country in that he saw the conviviality of all races there who actually were living in harmony. The Indians, the Blacks, whom he called the Negroes because that was the acceptable terminology in that era, and the Chinese, the Arabs, and he said they all called themselves Jamaicans. They didn't attach African Jamaicans or Syrian Jamaicans or Chinese Jamaicans. They were all authentically Jamaicans, and he was impressed by what he saw there. Evidently, he might have seen poverty, he might have seen class divisions and tensions, but he thought that on the whole, when he spoke to these people, they had one description: I am Jamaican. I am Chinese Jamaican, as in America, people like to talk about, Italian Americans, and they like to talk about African Americans. In fact, many Black people in the United States still call themselves African Americans, and they think that that's their nationality. I taught at Howard University for some years, and I had to correct many of my students, and I taught thousands of students at Howard University. And when I would say, ¿Cuál es tu nacionalidad? Because I taught Spanish, and I would ask one of the questions I would ask them in Spanish, one, but I was teaching them, how to say where they're from and their nationality. ¿Cuál es tu nacionalidad? They would all say, I am African American. Soy afroamericano or soy afroamericana. And I would say to them that you're not African American by nationality. That is your ethnicity. But you are an American. Soy americano, soy americana for the female. But, they were struck by that because you're saying, well, we grew up hearing that we were called, or we are African Americans, but you're African Americans by ethnicity, not by nationality. People who are born in a country, there are no, you don't have to use any thing because they're not half of, they are fully that person. If you were born there and generations you have been there, and African Americans have been in America for many, many years, what we call Black Americans particularly. But nobody has to call you Black American, you're just American. Right? You're American. And it also struck me that white Americans would say that they're full Americans, suggesting as if, to be white, even though nobody's white, but, in the context of what you understand what I'm saying, they think that they are the authentic Americans when the indigenous people are. But let's move on. Let's stick to the content, the topic at hand, which is the fact that our out of many one people motto in Jamaica did influence Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, his iconic I Have a Dream speech. Dr. King and his wife, Coretta, spent 10 days exploring the island of Jamaica when they went there in 1968 to pronounce a speech at the University of the West Indies. Now, one of the things you must understand that he did not go there invited by the government. He was invited by the University of the West Indies to pronounce a speech, a graduation speech. I think they were having their graduation speech, and they invited him to the island. But whilst he was there, even though it was not an official state visit, because I think the Prime Minister, Hugh Shearer, was actually visiting Europe, England to be specific. However, I understand that the government, having heard that he was there, they invited him to a state dinner, right? In which I think he pronounced a speech also at the National Stadium after the government had invited him to a state dinner. And he was able to interact with Jamaica of that sort of particular class. And he was impressed. And during his visit also, he went across the length and breadth of Jamaica, and he was very, very much inspired. Fun fact for many people who do not understand and know also that Dr. Martin Luther King wrote a number of his books in Jamaica. And he said he wrote them because he was inspired in Jamaica. When he went to Jamaica, it's almost like his intellectual juices flowed, and he was able to concentrate and to finish whatever book he was writing. Okay, so Jamaica is an island of inspiration, and we have been at the bedrock of the civil rights movement through, of course, Dr. The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey and his teachings. Remember now that he is at the center, Marcus Mosiah Garvey is at the center of America's U.S. civil rights movement, particularly the second iteration rather of the civil rights movement, because the civil rights movement can be divided into two phases, right? We had the first phase was after the Civil War. First, that was a civil rights movement too, to end slavery and all of the things that happened, the freedom movements that came about, the Reconstruction era. That was also the commencement of the Black civil rights movement. And it culminated, the second civil rights movement, in the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And his wonderful speech, his noble speech, his lofty I Have a Dream speech. Now, so he said that Dr. King and his wife, Coretta, spent 10 days exploring the island. When they got there after they had pronounced the speech and met with the ministers of government, he praised Jamaica's motto, out of many, one people, saying, here people from many national backgrounds, Chinese, Indians, Negroes, Europeans, live together as one big family of Jamaicans. I hope America can one day follow Jamaica's example. Okay. Now, according to Andrew Young, that's Dr. King's former aide and later U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Jamaica was one of Dr. King's favorite places to visit. Young revealed that King visited the island almost every year and wrote most of his books there. So this was Dr. King's former aide and later U.S. ambassador, Andrew Young. And he said that Dr. King wrote most of his books in Jamaica. Most of his books. An article in Ebony magazine featured photos of Dr. King and Coretta on holiday in Jamaica. It described him as uncharacteristically casual, working in pajamas, a bathrobe, and slippers, and often skipping a shave. Dr. Luther, that's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s visit to Jamaica, remains a cherished moment in the island's history. His admirations for the country's unity and culture, coupled with his powerful messages, continues to inspire Jamaicans and people worldwide. Okay, so that is something interesting, that our out of many one people, and not only that we have that as a motto, but I think we also in Jamaica, we take it for granted that we do to some extent live that motto out in our daily lives. Yes, we need to improve on the class divisions. We need to educate most of our people so that they can get the requisite opportunities, economic opportunities, to have that, to achieve that self-mobilization and self-actualization. Okay, that would be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream for Jamaica, that Jamaica would grant its citizens economic opportunities so that they can bridge that class divide that is very poignant and ubiquitous there, right? A toxic class divide, only if we would decide to educate our people. Okay, so that would be Dr. Martin Luther King's Jr. speech had he been alive, and would be able to see where Jamaica would have progressed at this moment, or progress and perhaps or lack of progress in some areas. But as far as unity is concerned, racial and ethnic unity are concerned, I think that Dr. King would say that we are an example, that Jamaica is an example to the world, because we do not have those racial and ethnic hostility that many people think we have. There are some people who think that Jamaicans don't like white people, or we don't like these other people. But no, we're not the person. If you respect Jamaicans, they will respect you. But if you don't show respect, then they won't like you, whether you're black or you're white or you're pink or you're yellow. That is the sort of people Jamaicans are, right? They love you if you show them respect, if you're lovable, if you are worthy to be loved. And remember now that if you want to have friends, you first have to show yourself friendly. So that's very important that we understand these sort of matters. But I just wanted to share with you, very important nuggets, some important facts, because that's what this channel is about: to educate, to enlighten, and to inform. And we want to say that Dr. Martin Luther King's Jr. speech, when he says, I have a vision, I have a dream that America will one day be for all peoples and not just for whites, but that all Americans would unite and dwell together in that land called United States of America, a vision that he had already lived in Jamaica, an experience which he savored in Jamaica, a place of the birth or the place of the birth of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So in many ways, in more than one ways, in many ways, Jamaica did inspire the U.S. civil rights movement. The truth is the truth, and I hope that you will accept the truth for what it is. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. Like the videos so the videos can be shared with as many people on the platform. And those of you who'd like to make financial contributions for independent journalism, you can send your donations, your financial contributions to my Cash App. And the address is the $MZ Talk 9. The $MZ or Z Talk TUCK 9. Thank you so much. See you then. All the best.